Mice. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
A long day, a job well done, and the fun. Locally, enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms? Light as a feather.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
It has happened where people just haven't noticed and they've run out of time. I'm like, sounds good. Oh, overcooked it a bit. Jeez.
Clean! Keep going, ET!
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
-1,000 flash will win Apres curl.
Oh, they're really sweeping this, boys.
They're
really sweeping this. Oh, boy, you can't give up a steal here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, nice shot from Caitlin.
Here we go, it's happening.
Yeah, draw for the win for Rylan Kleider. Needs a piece of the forefoot. He's been really good all game. Trevor Johnson on this one here.
Can't hear yet for line ever.
No, they like line. Now does it have the speed? They like the line. Does it have the speed? They're going hard for line. You have to get by this top yellow. Trevor Johnson leaning on it. He's by it. Now does it stop in time? Has to stop in time. What a shot from Rylan Kleider. We thought it was maybe the hardest option up from the booth, but that's why we're not down there.
Locally, enjoy casual.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
Every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
when victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Another game. Eat locally, enjoy casual.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And is the choice of champions.
It has happened where people just haven't noticed and they've run out of time. I'm like, sounds good. Oh, overcooked it a bit. Jeez.
Clean! Keep going, ET! Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Minus 1,000 flash will win apres curl.
Oh, they're really sweeping this, boys.
They're
really sweeping this. Oh, boy, you can't give up a steal here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, nice shot from Kate.
But here we go, it's happening.
Yeah, draw for the win for Ryland Kleider. Needs a piece of the forefoot. He's been really good all game. Trevor Johnson on this one here.
Can't hear yet for line ever.
No, they like line. Now does it have the speed? They like the line. Does it have the speed? They're going hard for line. You have to get by this top yellow. Trevor Johnson leaning on it. He's by it. Now does it stop in time? Has to stop in time. What a shot from Ryland Kleider. We thought it was maybe the hardest option up from the booth, but that's why we're not down there.
A long day. Locally, enjoy casual.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
Every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
when victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Another game. Enjoy casual.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And is the choice of champions.
It has happened where people just haven't noticed and they've run out of time. I'm like, sounds good. Oh, overcooked it a bit. Jeez.
Clean! Keep going, ET! Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Minus 1,000 flash will win apres curl.
Oh, they're really sweeping this, boys.
They're
really sweeping this. Oh, boy, you can't give up a steal here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, nice shot from Kate.
Here we go, it's happening.
Yeah, draw for the win for Ryland Kleider. Needs a piece of the forefoot. He's been really good all game. Trevor Johnson on this one here.
Can't hear yet for line ever.
No, they like
good.
line. Now does it have the speed? They like the line. Does it have the speed? They're going hard for line. You have to get by this top yellow. Trevor Johnson leaning on it. He's by it. Now does it stop in time? Has to stop in time. What a shot from Ryland Kleider. We thought it was maybe the hardest option up from the booth, but that's why we're not down there.
A long day. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
Every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
when victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Enjoy casually.
Stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And is the choice of champions.
It has happened where people just haven't noticed and they've run out of time. I'm like, sounds good.
Close. Last drop. Yep. 8th in. From the tie to Isabel Verano.
Yep.
Call Team Whyte up and
They're pretty good right now, yeah.
Yeah, they've been good for the last couple of years, but that team Mowat, they keep running into them. But we've got four sheets of action as we hear Robbie Doherty call everybody in, and we've got one team missing here. Team McEwen's nowhere to be seen. They went on the draw of the button and left. But this intro is going to go a little longer as Robbie plays up to the crowd. Sportsnet covering the Team Gushu, Team McEwen game. Team Hosley and Team Carruthers on the ice tonight. And the final game is an all-Swiss battle, Team Brunner and Team Schwaller, which I believe is the game that Isabella Rana and John Cullen are covering on the other stream, or you can watch Carruthers Hosley with no commentary. So if you're a curling fan, I would always say, Nick, when I was, growing up and a kid and loving curling, I would have killed to have this many games online to watch. Not that the internet was a thing when I was a kid, but if it was.
Yeah, we used to VHS tapes, but...
Yeah, exactly. See, you're a lot younger than me, but you know what it's like. I watched that 1993 Skins game final between Russ Howard and Ed Wernick, like, I bet you 100 times.
Oh, well, that is a lot of curling, actually.
No, there wasn't that much to tape back then.
No, but you're absolutely right. There's so much information to gather quickly now, and that's why we see a lot of young teams being really good at a really early age, and so much information to gather there for all the people that wants to get good at curling.
Yeah, absolutely. You could spend your whole day watching curling and almost never rewatch a game, kind of all day, every day. But there's also a kitchen party going on hosted by Johnny Moe at the it's not the Patch, but it's a bar in the hotel here, and we may want to just let these intros go. I'm not sure if the fans at home can hear them, but it's going to get really loud here very shortly. So as Robbie Doherty, man of a million talents, does the intros here and gets this crowd fired up. As Robbie introduces our game here. So Team Ross Whyte 2-0 and Team Muskatewitz is 1-1. So a big game here. Team Whyte trying to win that third game, which would punch their ticket. I was talking today, Nick. Do you ever remember a time? I know it's mathematically possible at 3-1 there could be 9 teams. Have we ever seen it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Yeah, so it's not really a very high probability. So 3 wins gets you into the playoffs. 2 wins generally keeps you at least in the tiebreaker conversation, but often there's not enough room for as many tiebreakers as there are teams, so you need a great shootout to get into that tiebreaker, and that's the position you find yourself in, Nick. Not necessarily new. You guys have snuck into the playoffs and made some runs numerous times, but you don't want to fall to that second loss if you don't, well, not if you don't have to. You don't really have a choice. Sometimes teams just beat you.
Yeah, we had a bad streak or a good streak, depending on how you want to see it, when there used to be 5 games. We started 0-2.
Here we go.
Like 4 or 5 times in a row to still qualify 3-2 and do well at the slams. But the 0-2 start is not ideal.
No, for sure. Team Saskatchewan making a big entrance here. Colton Flash wrapped in the Saskatchewan flag. And as always, the hometown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador fans are welcoming them, but I think they're about to bury them when they announce Team Gushu. Looks like Kevin Marsh even bringing in his homemade instrument.
Yeah, you don't get to see this too often in the curling world. But
no, this is rare and unique for sure.
Yeah.
At least we haven't in the past. Maybe we can reproduce this moving forward. But didn't even hear Robbie Doherty. Didn't hear a word he said. Once he says throwing the red rocks, the crowd goes nuts. And I assume he said from St. John's, Newfoundland, Team Gushu. But who knows? So the intros are done. The crowd is pumped. There's a kitchen party going on, and we've got Grand Slam of curling action, the Coyote National, the third leg of the Grand Slams. And does it feel a little bit different this year, Nick, or is it just kind of more of the same with the curling group and everything they're doing out here?
I think it's fairly similar, but I think we've started to see a lot of small changes for the better, in my opinion, or at least most of them. And I think we'll see more to come as well. They're kind of trying out a few new things, which is very promising and very fun for the players. So I think in the next year or two, we'll keep seeing more good changes. Hopefully can raise the awareness around curling and everything around it, what the players are doing to be here.
Yeah, I agree, and we're seeing that, you know, the social media presence is obviously huge, and promoting the players individually and as teams and getting to know them. You know, you see John Cullen on all over social media doing all sorts of crazy things, racing go-karts and riding roller coasters with some of the teams and just getting to know the teams. And as a sports fan, first and foremost, I always found it cool to see those little documentaries or even little features, 2 to 5 minutes on, you know, who is Tiger Woods or who is Brad Gushue or Nicholas Hedin, you know, off the ice and what makes them tick. So here we go, first rock of a game that's been anticipated literally all week. They've been talking about this Thursday night. Place is going to be packed. Mike's wearing the newest thing they've added, which is that hat cam, which if it doesn't make you dizzy, it's pretty cool. Have you seen that at all, Nick?
Yeah, I think Rasmus tried it at practice. He said it was somewhat heavy, maybe not ideal for sweeping, but I think for skips to kind of make people see what they see out there, I think it's pretty cool. Gives like another level to this.
Cool idea, right? And I wondered the same with the sweeping, but Matt Hamilton doesn't seem to mind. He likes to, you know, he likes to talk about things. He likes to be in the spotlight.
And he's got a big head.
He's got a big head, so it maybe doesn't feel as heavy. There you go. So first rock looks to be on center, just maybe. And Team McEwen, seen them do this a couple times this week with the hammer. They're going to draw open side. And oh, sorry. Yeah, let's play the right game. Sorry, I'm going to try and not watch the feature game here. Although that's where everybody's eyes are in the stands. So thank you, Nick. Saved my job early. So Team Muskatewitz with the hammer, and they're not going open side.
It's okay, I got your back.
Thank you. That's why there's two of us. There's a lot of games going on. I often said coming to watch games live, you try and watch them all and you kind of see none of them. So you've really got to focus in. So I'll see if I can. Sometimes I see a squirrel or something, Nick, and I get distracted.
Yeah, and I think tonight we got actually a lot of good games here, so I think we might keep an eye on a few of them, but we might miss a few good shots. And then maybe you can tune into more screens if you have more than one screen. Watch it all.
Yeah, that's the play, right? You get multiple screens going. I mean, we do have the full house coverage where you can watch all four at once. No commentary there yet, but maybe in the future.
Like the Olympics, except curling.
Right?
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it reminded me of too, Nick.
Just take the weekend off and sit there with 4 screens and whatever beverages you want to enjoy.
That's right. So you and Kyle, Ross talked about chasing shot rock, but instead they're going to go around everything. And there's the curl that we've seen this week. Like that's dead behind one that's half open around a pretty tight guard. Like they think they can chase it. So we were talking before the game a little bit, Nick. I'm not super familiar with this Muskatewitz team, obviously the European champions, and you can't do that by accident. So a good young team. You've probably played them a few times over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that was the 10th meeting between me and Mark, at least, or our teams, but we've had maybe slightly different lineups, or he has at least. I think that was the first time they beat us, actually, so they were thrilled, and we were not quite as happy when that happened. But yeah, definitely a very young, strong team here coming up super quickly, and definitely not a fluke. They won. They played really well all week.
You can't fluke your way to any real big wins anymore. Not that you really could, but now you really can't.
No, especially with the 5-rock rule, like you got to play so much curling now.
Yeah, there's no hiding, right? You might want to be defensive, but it's really not up to you necessarily.
All the teams are making a ton of shots, so even if you have a lead, you can't stop playing. You can't just defend anymore. You got to keep playing all ends, and you got to keep making shots the whole way, no matter who you play against out here.
So normal second is Duncan McFadzean, but he is not here. Could be, guys didn't say anything kind of abnormal was going on, but could be the slam followed by the Euros and now another slam. So Duncan's a farmer and maybe had some work to do or family commitments, but we've got Craig Waddell in here. Not going to be happy with that shot. Craig had a chance there to freeze right on the button and really turn the screws on Team Muskatewitz right away, but came up a little short.
Yeah, that ended up well short, even short of the rings, so not even presenting any type of problem. It's a big chance here from Muskatewitz early to wrap one more round, and it'll be a tough double peel also. The angle is not great.
It looks like a pretty natural jam. You don't know if you want to play it thick or thin. That means it's in a tough spot. And this is another one that's not headed where they want it. That would have been okay anywhere, kind of top 12, top 8, very usable. But
maybe that was Craig's plan. He just fooled them.
Right? Sometimes I would say after I come up short or heavy, you know, usually it's after you throw one heavy and the next guy throws it heavy, you go over and you just kind of whisper in the ear, what do you think, I suck? It's fast here. But that was kind of, maybe he's thinking, oh, I gave him too much credit. It must be slow here. And Felix threw that one a little bit too hard. And so we'll see if Craig can make up for it on this one.
Back 12.
Back 12, over adjustment here, and Ewan trying to get this one going. This isn't anywhere close.
This is not what you want to do. When you miss your first, you really should be close on your second. When you've tried the same path and you get the same shot twice, that's normally something at this level you should never really miss the same way or same shot twice. Now he missed them different ways, but big mistakes on both of them. So yeah, gonna have to step it up quickly.
Teams pride themselves on that. Players do, but also when the guy in front of you misses, the next guy's got to pick it up. You can't miss, like you said. If you miss 2 in a row, often you're going to end up, you're going to end up basically dead in the end. And if this is made, I don't see any great shots here for Team Whyte to get out of this.
And it's definitely going to take a couple of shots. There's no easy just one shot clear it all up, or there is, but it's really tough.
How much first red can he see, Nick? Can he hit enough to at least kill 2 of those reds? But then it's coming close to that back couple and maybe not leaving. But a bad situation in the first end for Team Whyte for sure.
I think you almost have to go after the guards here and kind of hope to hit it thin enough to get something else moving in the house.
3/4 and try and get this way.
Ross is saying it's tough to hit it thin. I think you have to. I think I agree with you, Nick. I think you have to try and get it thin.
I think so as well. As long as you hit it thin enough for it to move off the center line. If you go for the thick one, that's kind of tricky as well. First end is going to curl a little extra around the center line. If that just curls an inch on you, it's almost nose, and you might actually leave both of them somewhat close to the center guard.
Moved it a little, but yeah, if that had gone another foot, anything thinner, that would have been a rock you could use to run in later. It's much better, though. Opened up that kind of nose double at least.
9. Like the tap.
This is a tough shot in the first end. A little wider and could guard here. What would you play here, Nick?
Yeah, I would definitely look at guarding something. I think you just kind of try to push it 1 or 2 more shots, and then maybe you can play this later. But I think it's very early to let Team Whyte just run that top 8 foot back already.
This is third stone Benny Cap.
What's up?
If you followed German curling over the years, the last name Cap is very familiar. I guess it would be his uncle Andy. Lost the 2007 World Final. I only know that because they played pretty friendly and had a tough first end and gave us 4 in the first, which was nice. And his dad, Uli, played third on that team. Uli runs the German program, I believe, Nick, and has been around curling a long time, was involved with those, what were those international events? The World Cup of curling events, you know, I don't know, that might have been 10 years ago now. Uli was involved in that somehow, wasn't he?
I think that was actually in 2018, so around 6 years ago. So
okay.
Yeah, and Uli was involved in that, and Andy was involved in the Continental Cup. He was the team captain for, I think, 3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Great shot, but also just not the right call, I think, on Muskatewitz there before to go and tap that back 4 rock already and kind of leave that shot. It was always very makeable. Distance was so short, it was just a little too soon to do that move.
I agree, and that was a great shot by Robin, but either had to curl a millimeter or throw it a little harder because there are four reds still in the rings, and this is a hit to lie 3. Probably, I know this hit looks tempting. Would you draw here, Nick, around the center? Like that's probably where Ross is going on his first. Freeze on the button with all those kickers.
Yeah, and also if you draw first and kind of they have to run that top 8-foot rock, you kind of force them to hit it instead of you hitting yourself. And
yeah, maybe they do you a favor and do that.
Exactly, or even if they would have made the roll, but it's kind of ending up on a stagger, it helps the freeze for Team Whyte. Well, yeah, I agree with you. Could definitely hit being the first end, but you could also draw on there. Quite a few misses so far, to be honest. It's definitely trickier in the first end, but they have had a practice before, and those draws kind of going short of the rings and then through the rings, a couple of them, or at least back 12.
Yeah, you can say it. Where are these misses against me? You can say it. It's okay. Yeah, I've watched your games, and teams have not done this.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually.
It's kind of unexplainable, you know, you get on those runs where everything goes your way, and then you get on those runs where it's like, you know, even not the best teams in the world are playing like they're the best teams in the world. It's a fine line, and momentum. It's one of the mysteries of our game. You don't know how to really create it other than making a million shots, and sometimes it seems like the curling gods are against you.
Yeah, definitely so. And you can't really blame anything else than your own game, I guess. Like you get lucky, you get unlucky. The more you practice and play, and the better the team perform, you're going to get most of that luck.
It's true. I totally agree with that. You kind of create your own. This one's getting tight for us. He was playing the freeze. They didn't mind it for a while, but it's getting tight. Let's keep it on the nose. Pretty good. Really closing down that scoring area now for Mark Muskatewitz. And that's a big shot. You know, all those red kickers right now are kind of eliminated, but looks like he's thinking run back. I think the freeze makes some sense, but I guess even if you peeled the guard, what is Ross going to do on his next one with all those kickers? I guess the yellow one, though, he is lying first and looks like fourth.
That was tricky. I kind of agree with some sort of freeze. Just keep adding pressure. Going for the run back would be kind of a crazy call, I think, if you would ever nose.
Yeah, it's possible. That's the main reason I really don't think it's a good idea, is because a really good throw could result in 2 buried and shooting for Team Whyte, and that would be suicide.
Yep. It's also a good chance here for Mark to find his draw weight during the Europeans. Kind of one of the reasons they did so well and they won was that he had really good draw weight all week and good sweepers. Even though they're really young, they manage everything really well and strong sweepers.
Yeah, I heard Fry was telling me there was a couple of like key freezes, maybe even the last end of the final. I didn't see it. If this one looks close, if you have a skip that can draw really well, like that, you're going to win a lot of games, because even when you get into trouble, that's what gets you out of trouble a lot of times. The big hit can as well, no, don't get me wrong, but that's perfect. And now Ross is in trouble again.
The big hit is kind of more of a weapon, but the draw is kind of what's going to win you, because you need it every single game. The big hit you kind of need in some locations, some moments, and sometimes it's kind of a Hail Mary. It kind of just wasn't a good enough end anyways kind of thing. But the draws you have to make pretty much all the time in every game.
still got to make this.
Those are kind of the ones that, yeah, go on the scoreboard. And the big hit, the other thing it does, and I talked about it in your game earlier, was it makes, like against Schuster today, there was a spot where he was like, well, if he knows this, Nick might be able to make it. Like, you almost can make your opponent see things, especially with some of the things you've shown that you've practiced, you know, the extra spin and making rocks come across sideways a little flatter than normal. And that's in the back of the other skip's mind. Like, I can't leave this guy anything.
Yeah, certainly. We've actually used that over the years to our advantage. Kind of if we throw an early bomb double, that's definitely going to make the other team kind of double guard their shot rock instead of coming in one more and give us an easy run. But then we just face one rock a lot of the times. So maybe sometimes some teams have double guarded a little bit too much, being too scared of run backs that are still tough to make.
Yeah, you just make them look too easy, right? And Kevin Coo used to say that when I played with him. Every now and again, somebody would be like, yeah, you can't leave him this double. And Kevin's like, that's not even there. The Coo makes people see things. So throwing the guard here, I don't think he really has an option.
Yep. Yes.
So might have the straight back. It didn't. Yeah, it's close. Can't really tell if that's even possible. Then right on the nose, looks like it feathers the tighter guard, but really tough draw is possible.
Yeah.
I don't think that chase to move the red and yellow, I don't think you can throw that hard enough.
It looks to me like a first end as well. I think you try and draw. He just played the same draw basically. You just gotta. You need about a foot more ice and basically the same speed. He should be really close to making that draw.
Yeah, put the pressure on the sweepers. I don't like that playing that tight one across the other way.
No, that is so risky. If you ever plant it nose, it's a steal too.
I wonder that, yeah.
That's going to drag. So if the yellow hits, as we see it now on the left side, it's going to add a lot of outturn rotation to the top red that is just going to make the yellow stick on the red on the button.
Can't play that.
That is never the shot.
They figured it out, and they're going to play the draw. And you know, Nick, both you and I have played, you know, for a while, and we have the battle scars, right? We know we've tried those, and they don't always work out. And that's the best way to learn, unfortunately, is the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, definitely, and it's fun in the beginning, like looking for all the things that are possible, and you see a lot of possibilities, but maybe haven't been punished enough for the mistakes. And when you start missing them, you kind of realize you have to watch for both ends. What happens if we make it? What happens if we miss it?
So last rock, first end here, Mark Muskatewitz with a tough in-turn draw to the side of the button, but like you said, Nick, pretty similar to his first one. Sweepers have kind of been cleaning it the whole way, but this looks like it needs to slow down, needs to curl and die. It's very close.
Curl and die it does.
And that's how you get 2 points. And very impressive from Mark Muskatewitz. 2-0 lead after the first end for the young German team. We'll be back right after this to catch the second end action.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Welcome back to the action. Lots of action in the first end, some back and forth, but it ended with a 2 for Team Muskatewitz. And see if Ross Whyte can manufacture a couple of points here with the hammer. First stone for, correct me if I say this wrong, Nick, you probably know, is it Johannes with the lead?
Johannes, yeah.
Johannes. There we go. Perfect tight guard right in the middle of the... That's perfect product placement, right in the middle of the KIOTI logo, the title sponsor of the third leg of the Grand Slams. Also title sponsor, I believe, of Team Dunstone, so big into the curling.
Yeah, that was a couple of impressive draws from Mark Muskatewitz first, and even though you have done practice, you've drawn a couple in that path, probably. But still, to make it on the button, the perfect freeze, and then kind of around it on the button. That was a great start for this young team.
And a good sign that the sweepers just kind of knew the whole way. They were kind of cleaning it, knew it was close. And we talked in the break, Nick, about Mark being around for a while in his later 20s, which obviously is not very old in this booth. But picking up some young guys, some guys he has confidence in, not just their shooting, but also their sweeping. And then all of a sudden, you start to make shots, those extra couple of shots. The difference between winning and losing, especially at this level, is like a shot or two a game, maybe.
Yeah, like I mentioned there at the break, I think it reminds me a lot of the Joel Retornas situation. He's been around forever and been a really good curler for many, many years, very knowledgeable. Same thing with Mark Muskatewitz. He's been around for 7-8 years on the European tour, but this year just raising the level a lot, probably 10% average at skip. And it's kind of the same for Joel. He was always good, but when he found that young team, they believed in him, he believed in them, they gained some confidence, and all of a sudden they're a 90% average top team.
Yeah, the people you surround yourself with, they say, you kind of are the sum of the 4 or 5 people you hang around with most. And so you start hanging around with people who believe in not just you, but themselves. And it's kind of infectious. A guy like Johnny Moe was like that when we were young, like maybe unrealistically, like when we first started coming into men's, he was already saying we could win, the Brier and stuff. And we didn't right away, obviously, but that confidence was the first time I ever thought that. Growing up, a lot of the people I was around were like, oh, you're a kid from a small town, the Brier. Stop dreaming about the Brier, right? And so it's interesting. Because unfortunately, Nick, there's nothing all that special about us other than we just dedicated our life to curling.
That is very true. I think the ones with early success, they've usually done a lot of work growing up and kind of interested in the sport, but also just spending a lot of hours on curling, but also everything around it. Nowadays, you got to hit the gym, you got to do some running, you got to think about the theoretical tactics and mental side, and stay healthy in general. So it's definitely a full-time gig, no matter if you have it as a job or if it's just your hobby for now.
It requires full-time effort and full-time dedication. You're absolutely right, and it's a choice. I mean, everybody has the ability to do it. It's life's all about choices, and I'm sure you've missed out on a ton of things, and I know I did, and everybody out on the ice here has made choices to try and chase this and be at the top of the sport in curling, and they are. So pretty good situation here early. Double guarding, but also we're seeing this more and more, Nick, where the team with the hammer just kind of ignores what's in the middle with the 5 rock, and I think we've decided as a sport that if you get one buried behind the corner guard, that's kind of your second point, and it kind of stays there the whole end if they can't chase it. And this shot, this run back triple, is made so often now.
Yeah, it's kind of one you have to make also when you kind of put up a couple of corner guards and ignore the ones in the middle. And this one has some distance between the guard and the top 12, and then one on the button. Not an easy triple to make.
Let's see if Craig's up to the challenge. Sounds like it's pretty close. Okay, gets the top one and rolls over to really lock that second shot in there. So tough to guard just one rock. We'll see if Mark has any other ideas. I'm not sure if I see anything else though, Nick. What are the other options here?
Yeah, there are not too many, to be honest. I think guard is kind of have to be the play. You could double off the 2 corners, but the problem is the one behind them are still going to be in the rings, and then they have one more corner.
The guard doesn't feel good, but I think it is right.
Yeah, I played one of those earlier this week. Didn't feel good, but I kind of felt it was the thing we had to do. Kind of similar here. It doesn't feel good to play this guard, but there really is no good alternative. There are a lot of other alternatives, but the question is, like, are they good?
Are they any good? I'll be interested to see if Ross decides to run this back. I mean, if it's real tight, he definitely will. But if this is right on the Coyote, a perfect guard, will he ever freeze and kind of load it up?
Split center, split center.
Assuming he's going to run it back, I think one more yellow in front of the rings never hurts. Now we can maybe get to the shot rock right away, though.
Looks like he can chase this one. Didn't quite get the line. And as long as he stays in the rings, there won't be any double, and any roll back would be. He probably wants to roll, either nose it or roll a ways away from the center line here. Saw on social media, Robin and his partner Clancy Grandy expecting an addition to the family. 2 becomes 3, I think they said.
And that's going to be a curling family.
From a curling family that spans the globe. I'm not sure they'll end up in Scotland. I don't know where they're going to end up, but bringing the. I think we can still say, you know, curling started in Scotland and this was created in Canada. I don't know that it's going to stay here. I hope it goes international in a big way. It already has in a big way, but I think we're about to see it really explode around the world. And as much as it's going to hurt our egos in Canada, we might lose, not control, but lose something in curling. But I think that's good for the sport.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be good for curling as a sport, and that will also bring a lot of curlers to Canada, because Canada is still the biggest place for curling, and there are so many ice rinks and so many tournaments to play, etc. So the bigger it is globally, I think the more people will come to Canada still. So I still think it is a win-win, even though the top teams might change a little bit. The number of Canadian teams in slams will maybe go down a little bit, but it's still going to give Canada good things for curling, I think.
Fortunate there, and I totally agree with that comment, Nick. And fortunate there for Benny Cap. I think he was playing that quite a bit lower, like a little more curl across the top of the other one. But a good chance here for Team Whyte to lie 2, not just lie 2, but 2 buried. And didn't you guys a number of years ago come over and stay in Ottawa for 4 or 5 months? And
yeah, we did. 3.5 months in Ottawa. We rent the place and kind of just went from there. It kind of ended up being a lot of traveling anyways. Canada is a fairly big country. We kind of realized that after a while. You still have to travel and time change 3-4 hours, but it was fun to try, actually. We compete a lot back then. We tried to climb the rankings early on in the careers and kind of played 20+ events, so it just made sense to just stay in Canada instead of going back and forth. It's just so much more costly as well, flying 3-4 flights to get here every time.
I think it paid off. You've done okay.
It's worked okay, and we had a lot of fun. We picked up a lot that season, I think. It kind of hardened us as a team. So yeah, that's definitely recommended for teams who really have that opportunity. It's obviously not for everyone, but if you have the chance, come to Canada early in your curling career, kind of try it out. That's it's going to be memories for life.
What year was that, Nick? Do you remember?
No, I don't. But I think maybe 2015, around there.
And then you've won like every world championship since? Coincidence?
Yeah, I think not.
I think not also, but so good come around there by Robin Bryden. And you know, Mark really I guess he has options. He could go around the corner, he could go around the center, but he's choosing to run this corner guard back. Not a real comfortable shot for a skip to have to play without the hammer. Doesn't sound great. Maybe roll to a double center. That would have been nice.
And this is looking tricky now.
Yeah, I think what Ross, when you're calling games, like right now, if this is you, Nick, and you're playing yellow, is one of the first questions you ask yourself, where would they go if they were shooting right now?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that tight red center guard is obviously the danger for Team Whyte here. But the thing is that if you come around it and you don't make it perfectly, you might help the other team. If you're deep or high and stagger, you might make it easier for Mark to make a perfect roll or draw back 4, and then you kind of have to make a tough shot to just score.
I'm not against that. Just right here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Robin here. Kind of not mess around with that center. It's a very tight center guard. If you come around it kind of half buried top 4 and the other team goes back 4, you're gonna have to make a really good shot to maybe score 3, but you might also give up a steal, and then it's 0-3 in the game. So
what was your first thought then?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. We'll see what they say here, but
I know, but how deep are you going to not let the freeze? If he plays the freeze, we're done.
I think if you're coming round and you're right there.
I don't hate this.
okay, there's an interesting call. Draw one back 12, maybe entice him into playing a long double and try and keep his attention away from getting behind that center.
I think the problem for Whyte here also is that if they go all the way to back 12, I think Muskatewitz might just come around the corners. There are so many guards on that side. They can be well over-buried on T-line there, and you almost got nothing. You might have the run for 3, but it's going to be a long run to stick it against the steal.
Ross really likes that. Any thought of, and I know it's perfect, and I totally agree with you, if you're light and you hook the guard, or you're heavy and leave a freeze, or even go to the button and leave a freeze on the button, might take the whole end away. But what about drawing kind of just edge on edge with that guard, kind of top 8? You might leave him an easy double on the top, but
probably.
Yeah, that's actually what I would like, I think, in this situation. I think you can't really just be edge of 12. I think you will leave either the long roll or a draw around the corner, and you have so much real estate to land on where it's going to be really tough to score. Because even if you have a chance of scoring 3, you don't want it to be a long run back when you're 2-0 down.
That's for sure. You know, 3-0 down and against any team in this event is a big lead.
Yeah, I'd be on your side there, like edge on edge, top 8 kind of thing. If you can maybe put them kind of level so there is no double, I think that's ideal. And even if you're a little bit deeper, but if it's not behind the guard, there's really no freeze available. I think that would be my call.
I think that's what they're doing here, but he's taking tons of ice, which I think is the thinking. Doesn't want to bury, half buried or full bury, but we'll see. Ross Whyte's first in the second end here, and a well played end by Team Whyte, and chance for 3.
Line's great.
Easy. Line's good.
If we see the big lean plow now from a lot of the top teams, or especially the first half of the sheet, and is the thinking that it kind of just keeps it on track, and if it's a little light, it keeps it going without affecting the line too much?
Yeah, and I think maybe we actually started that.
I think you did too.
Yeah. And a lot of teams kind of asked us, why are you doing this? Like, that doesn't seem to do anything, and now almost all the teams are using it, I think.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah.
Just like everybody's thinking, should we throw 8 rotations like Bruce Mallett?
Yeah.
You know, and Team Adine, they throw a little extra, and are we doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Ever since that broom, you know, call it whatever you want. Call it Broomgate for John Cullen down here because he did a podcast on it. But we were like, what else don't we know? What else are we doing wrong all these years? And what are the top teams doing? And it's been an interesting kind of 6 or 8 years since that happened.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it was really good at the end of the day. I think curling as a whole, as a sport, we learned a lot from it. And now we are just way better out there. All the teams are really good at this.
This sounds thin. Oh, big unforced error. So it worked out for Team Whyte. Draw the rings for 3, and Mark Muskatewitz there. Ross went probably like 3 inches deep to leave him a very makeable double, and couldn't come up with the goods this time. And I wondered if Whyte would have the answer, and they had even more of an answer than I expected. I was wondering if they'd get a deuce, and they're going to draw the rings for 3 here. So, and just really made 8 shots. I always say to the, you know, any of the young teams I talk to, you know, with Mike and the guys, if you make 8 shots with the hammer, it's really hard for them to not give you 2 points. And then if you get a break late like that, 3s are happening more than ever, I think, Nick. Is that what you're seeing? I mean, you follow the stats and analytics probably as closer than anybody. Am I making that up?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think now you almost play to give up 2 points sometimes. If you have a 2-point lead, you're kind of not too unhappy if it's only 2 that you're giving back. You just don't want to give 3 points.
And Ross Whyte makes no mistake, and that's 3 big ones on the board for Team Whyte and a 3-2 lead coming back in the third end against Team Muskatewitz. They will have the hammer. We'll be right back with all the action.
There's a place where the world's best curling not only lives, It rocks.
Guard den wir nicht weggenommen haben. Und dadurch, dass sie durch die Mitte gerannt sind und als Corner Guard liegen geblieben sind.
Gespielt? Ah, den Draw, oder? Nee, den Draw.
Die Guard.
Ah, die ist halt überquält, ja. Nee, zu wenig.
Ja, aber überall safe, war zum Schluss immer noch gut.
Welcome back inside the Mary Brown Center in St. John's, Newfoundland. The Coyote National, third leg of the Grand Slam of curling. I'm Brent Lang, joined by 7-time world champion Nick. It's hard to get. John and Morris and I were commentating. We're like, we both lost count. It's just so many, more than anybody ever in the history of curling. I know that. So thanks for joining us, Nick. And we're in for a treat tonight. A super interesting first couple ends in the feature game in 3-2. Lots of points, lots of rocks in play, lots of strategy to discuss. All the things that make this game great, and a packed house, which is really awesome to see.
On the logo. We're really overcome.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting start to the game. Lots of rocks in play in both the first ends. In the first one, we had a lot of mistakes, and the second one was a little more clean from Whyte's side.
The Boo Birds. Team McEwen has successfully taken the crowd a little bit out of the game with 3 blank ends to start with the hammer, and the crowd doesn't like it. I know that Flash, you know what Flash loves more than anything? He loves it more than cheers, is when the other team's fans boo him. Means you're doing something right, but it's fairly quiet in here.
And I think, honestly, that is a pretty good tactical move. Just kind of take the crowds a little bit out of it. And like, if you have a lot of rocks in play against Wushu in these crowds, they're going to really be pumped to play well. But if you get almost nothing to work with, it's going to be a little tough. Crowds are not liking it, and Team Wushu probably not liking it either.
It probably doesn't feel great. So high guard here, which was a little bit of a mistake from you and Kyle, and probably third end kind of strategy. And also, if he throws the corner guard there from Muskatewitz, probably Ross is going to throw another center, and you probably don't want to see that in the odd end, Nick.
No, definitely not. I think they're happy if this is an easy deuce or a blank.
And that's usually what high centers lead to.
So high centers are kind of tricky. They're not really good for either team.
Right.
It's only good if a mistake comes along, so you can play another tighter one on it, or the opposition misses and you can rip it. It's kind of nothing good to do with it if it's just that one high guard.
It's always been like the weight's just there, so it's just.
So we were talking about the plow, Nick. You know, to keep it going, and we're, like you said, I agree with you. You were the first team I ever saw do it, and everybody questioned you. Now everybody does it. So what is the thought process? What are you guys seeing with that?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of ideas. That, like, one of the obvious things, obviously, you save a lot of energy. You can keep a very high pressure, but you don't have to kind of get that blood pumping, and what kind of makes it really tough to sweep a long, tough game. If you have to go coast to coast a lot of times, then you're going to feel it, no matter who you are, how well trained you are. It's tough to sweep that much, and the plowing just kind of saves a lot of energy. The other thing is that you, at all times, cover the surface. A lot of brushers, really strong sweepers, but they have long strokes, not actually being in front of the rocks most of the time, even though they get a high pressure, but it's just not in front of the surface where the rock is sliding on the ice. And then early on as well, plowing, because the rock is moving forward, so you're moving forward at a higher pace. And if you're moving the brush head back and forth, it's going to be kind of a zigzag pattern. You're actually not going to sweep all of the ice surface, but if you plow constant pressure in front of it, you're sweeping the whole surface where the rock actually glides. I think the first part of it's actually more efficient than sweeping, depending on your technique, obviously. And then you have a lot more gas in the tank for the last 10-15 seconds if you need it.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and Wayne Middaugh is probably on a golf trip, but if he's listening, he loves it, because he used to say, "I'm a big pressure guy, Langer. I don't move the broom too fast. I'm a pressure guy." But it's no wasted, like you said, no wasted energy. Everything that you are doing is in front of the rock, and then you guys sweep, 2/3, half the way. If it is light, you sweep to the regular brush stroke, and so that you still think that's more effective. But you can't do 24 seconds, 25 seconds of all-out aerobic activity. It's just not, again, no matter how fit you are, you're going to run out of gas. Lactic acid is a problem, no matter how strong you are. So that's part of it as well.
Yeah, and I think no matter what type of movement you do, like if you're a sprint runner, it's the same thing. No matter what you do, if you go absolute 100%, you can last about 7 seconds. And that's kind of for everyone. You can maybe push that 1 second or whatever, but max is max for everyone. After 7 seconds, you can't keep going 100% anymore. So if you got to sweep for 25 seconds, it's just a bad idea to go full out from the get-go. You're not going to last the whole way, and the rock is probably not going to end up short.
Where was this my whole life? I've tried to tell all my skips, no, we don't want to sweep that long. But no, it just makes sense, right? And like I said, you see everybody. And so we do have some action now. A couple of centers, that's a big miss from Team Whyte, and I don't know if Craig's just struggling with his rocks, but I'm not going to be happy with where that one ended up. Maybe it lined up as the only potential silver lining, and we said blank or simple deuce, and looks like at least that at the moment. Hitting the lie 3, that one's going to stick, so probably somebody's going to score here. So Team Muskatewitz, whatever they were thinking, is probably thinking now, okay, we got to try and make a deuce here.
Yeah, first thought was a hit and roll for one he's just thrown.
Yeah, I wondered about the hit and roll too. Nick, what do you like here?
I think I like running the guard back, actually. It's kind of early enough. Depending on the angle, I would be really interested to see if there's some drag there and you can maybe run it towards making the double in the house. If that is on, I would definitely play this. If it's not on, it would be a tougher choice. That was definitely on.
That's not going to jam. Yeah, just didn't quite hit it right. I dragged it too much.
Yeah, that was definitely on. I think kind of like a thick half with peel would have been really close to at least make contact with both of them, and then no guards in place. So they played it softer to stick it. Not sure that was a great call. You were going to leave a lot of rocks in play, and even if you hit it, they might sit at least 2 in the rings. And playing.
No guards, so no great opportunity for Ross probably to get out of this with a draw. They're going to have to hit their way out of this. And as usual, I said blank's probably not going to happen, and now I'd say blank's very possible.
They did remove that back 12 rock. That was going to be a potential tricky one. It's not one you're electing to hit anytime soon, but now it's open and doubles available. A gimme to start with. Might even play into those 2.
And stay right frozen, double the top 2 off, and yep. Maybe headed to a blank end here, which I don't think at this point neither team's upset with that. I don't think. Probably Muskatewitz was thinking we might get 2 or 3 here, but gonna play the simple double. The other one's pretty simple for a guy that hits like Robin, so I think it's a better result.
I agree with you. This is simple, but at the same time, it was kind of a freebie at the other double as well. And like I said, it was going to be a great result. Could have potentially even made the triple that way. I guess the danger is if you just push 1 back 12 and then you kind of keep spinning. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the other double would have been just as easy as this, but we'll see.
Now, Benny, if you can make a good hit and roll here to the wide side, a no pressure deuce is alive for now.
Hey, clean. Yep. Yep. Hard.
There's third stone here, Benny Cap calling on the front end to hold this one and get the roll wide side, just like that. That's perfect.
That's huge when you kind of got a free chance of a deuce like that. You really have to go for that roll. It doesn't really matter if you roll out of the rings. Because if you don't make the roll, chances are with 3 rocks to count, a double is going to be made at this level. So I think you really got to go for that roll. And if you roll out, you got the blank anyways. And making it, now the 2 is definitely alive.
So Robin trying to hit and roll over to a spot where they will set up a double. And when the setup's like this, Nick, do you almost as a rule hit the wide one and roll towards the center to make the double easier?
Yeah, I think you have to, especially with 3 rocks. left in the end. I think you have to kind of let the opposition have a chance of missing one as well, because they know they have to make those perfect rolls, so they can just roll out on you as well.
I wasn't over there, guys.
So now there's nothing that Benny Cap can do on this one to not leave a double. The only way to not leave a double is to roll out of the rings and leave an open hit.
The tricky thing, though, if he rolls towards that same side again, and the double is kind of a thin one, you also got a jam in the back that is a possibility, and if you ever miss that, then you're never getting out of the deuce. So you will only get one try at the double. If they can roll it back to the edge of 12, it'll still be a tricky shot that needs to be made.
That's pretty good. It's not supposed to be that easy to just make. That's 3 hit and rolls that are just perfect in a row, and get the weight right, and they got a good read on the ice, and with the sweeping now, it's just, we see a lot, but you're right. This is close. Kevin Martin always talked about the right angles. And it looks like this will go across the top. But we are off to the side, but if I look at that, I think the jam probably is too thick. Might go across the top, or might just roll to a perfect freeze.
Yeah, I think, but that's the thing, though. If you don't want to really just miss this thin, because if you hit it thick, you have a chance to roll there. But at the same time, if you hit it just a little bit thick, in this case, the jam is in play. It's unlikely, but it's in play, and it's going to be on Ross's mind when he plays this.
And Ross also throws it hard enough that he could probably go across the top here and not stay in the rings. But doesn't want to bring the weight down because of this jam. So, like you said, Nick, tricky shot. Sounds just too easy. Doesn't stick, but that's a great shot from Ross Whyte and a good read on the angles.
Yeah, really good shot, and that will bring some relief. He rolled into a spot that allows for an outside chance of a freeze, though. There's a wide corner guard, and this one is outside the rings, but if you can lock this on, it's not going to be super easy to get it out of there. So
yeah, this is about as hard a draw as you can have. But you're right, if this is made right, it's going to be really almost impossible for Ross to get it out unless he's going to play that 10-foot or 12-foot run back out in the weeds.
This is one where, as a skip, you definitely can't miss this short. You can't just put it short of the rings and then kind of allow the other team to make that freeze and be forced in the third end. So this one has to be in the rings. Even if it's deep, you can always kind of make the double to blank, but has to be in the rings.
Line doesn't look particularly close here, so seems to be a little less curl to the wings. The miss to the wings has actually been on the wide side of the games I've watched. Have you noticed that, Nick?
Yeah, actually in our first game, we kind of talked about it. We had a lot of curl going to the wing, but it was also a little bit straighter towards the middle that game. We only had like 4.5 feet of curl. Now the amount of curl has increased. I think we had more like 5.5 feet of curl in the game earlier today. But to the wing, it was less. So maybe that is something that the ice makers have maybe pulled a little trick on us and maybe created some more curl to the middle. It looks better. The tendency has definitely changed, in my opinion. So quite a few undercurls in our game as well going to the wing.
So open hit and stay. I want to make Muskatewitz make Mark at least make the blank on his last, but we're heading to a blank. So let's give you an update on the sheet beside us, the all-Swiss battle. Team Brunner up 3-2. Team Schwaller with the hammer in 4. Right in front of us here, Team Carruthers, they're an end behind here almost. Wow, what's going on here? Team Carruthers and Team Hostley, it's 1-1 playing third. Looks like Hostley has the hammer and he's going to draw for 2 here. And then the big Sportsnet matchup, the hometown heroes, Team Gushu. I cursed Team McEwen. I said they took the crowd out of it. Now Mike's got a real tough runner against 3 buried in the 4th end in a 0-0 tie. So
Leicht neben der Nase.
I think the quad is on. Go, Mike. We want to see it.
Close, right?
Definitely nothing easy, but he can throw hard enough, and they are kind of close together. So if he makes a good, thick contact on the first, you will probably see all four at least move.
So Mark Muskatewitz just has to hit this anywhere on the high side. I mean, a nose is in the rings, but even a millimeter high will roll out. No problem. We're headed to Blanksville, and we've got a 3-2 lead for Team Whyte heading to the fourth end. We'll have all the action when we get back.
Gut. Gut. Ja. Jederzeit zwei eigentlich. Egal wann. Ja, okay, oder?
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on,
every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Ich glaube, mein Schwein pfeift. Ja, war schon lieb. Nee, die ist 12, sorry. What?
We're back at the Coyote National and feature game tonight. Team Muskatewitz, Team Whyte. All European battle here, and that was a bit of an interesting end last end. As we said, you know, the long guard usually leads to a blank or a simple deuce. It looked like a maybe three for a while, and double, 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 and here we are, blank end. So Team Muskatewitz down one with the hammer and four, and big end here. I mean, 8 ends. Which do you prefer, Nick? I mean, 8 versus 10. The Worlds and everything, the Olympics are still 10, and all the Grand Slams are 8. Do you have a preference?
Yes, I do, and I think I've probably said this for, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I would want to say it's 15 years or something like that. I like 8 in the round robin and then 10 in the playoffs. I think it's kind of a no-brainer actually, and I see no reason it has to be the same in the round robin. You have more draws per day, and it's really tough for the ice makers to put in the ice for 10-end games, and they got to last long. We got long practices, etc. So if it's 8 ends, you can easily fit another session if you have to as well. You can shorten the event. But then in the playoffs, I still think 10 ends, you kind of bring a little more out of the teams. You have to play better for a little longer. It's just that little bit tougher. And it's in the playoffs, you only play 1 or 2 games. It's not wasting a lot of time, and that's kind of the stage when people want to watch long, interesting games. So, in my opinion, that would just kind of solve the problem. But I don't really know why it hasn't picked on. Maybe I'm not onto the right idea there. Yeah.
Actually, that's the first time I've heard that. That's very interesting. I've heard people prefer 10, people prefer 8. Some people like it the way it is, where it's 8 at the slams and on tour, and then 10 for Olympics, Nationals, World Championships. But that's an interesting one, because a big challenge is the time. Like, we couldn't run this event if these were all 10-end games. You can't do 4 draws a day, 10 ends. It's too much. Those are 3-hour games. The ice makers need time. So that's an interesting one.
I think another one is like media. They want the TV time. Like a 10-end game takes almost 3 hours, and the 8-end games you're down to 220 or something like that. But kind of when you are into like the playoff games, that's kind of when you want the long games. That's when people can tune in for a 3-hour game. I don't think they would sit on a Tuesday afternoon for a 3-hour game, at least not all the time. So I think for most of the time when you want the long games, that's over the weekend anyway. So in my opinion, 8 in the round robin and 10 in the playoffs.
It's interesting. Nick says it, now it'll probably happen. Now he's said it to the masses.
Now I can't take it back.
No, it's out there. So, pretty typical start. Not the exact start they wanted. The first one was almost in the rings, and then I believe they called another guard and was a little heavy, tapped it in, and
Right round, no?
Good come around.
This doesn't leave us that great.
I'm okay with I like long.
Yeah, right around they double, Ross says, and roll for another corner. And in the feature game, it's either going to get real loud right here. Mike McEwen has a really tough shot against a steal of at least 2, maybe 3. What a shot by Magic Mike. So they are, I think, going all the way around here. Robin got his way. Ross got outvoted.
This reminds me a lot of a situation we had against Team Jacobs. It's kind of a tricky one. It's definitely not going to be good if you go around. It's just a super automatic double, and you're going to trail pretty much the whole end. But at the same time, if you play that high guard, you're really gambling. And if they come around in a good spot, then you're almost dead in the water. So it's kind of, you have to make a bad decision either or. There really is no good spot to put it where the other team can't punish you. But in this case, you just kind of have to go for one of them and then hope for a little bit of a mistake.
I think probably the next shot, I mean, let's say this one's going to be made and he rolls to a corner, which isn't automatic, but I think probably Ross calls the run back on the corner on the next one, knowing that if he misses it, we got some time to get out of it.
Yeah, I would think so as well.
Yeah, just like that. That's perfect. And so probably going to run that. Maybe roll to a center. If nothing else, open it up and try and make a double to get out of this. Team Whyte would be happy with a blank here. Not that it's bad news for Muskatewitz, but they'd much rather take a chance on a deuce. Even if they get forced, it's not the worst. Craig Waddell trying to make the runner here. It is dead nut jammable, which would be really unfortunate. Oh no. Okay, at least it got it open, but advantage Muskatewitz for sure.
Yeah, this is kind of where it's going to be interesting to kind of see where this end goes and what it ends up being at the end of it. And that's kind of one that I think a lot of teams could benefit from, kind of playing back and looking at the options early on there. What do you want to choose, depending on kind of a team you play, etc. What's likely to happen if you kind of take the easy road too early and the opposition is really good, they're going to make their shots. Then maybe it's just making it too easy, but if you make it too complicated, you might just get punished right away. So definitely done both those mistakes myself. So
risk reward, if you play long enough, everybody makes both those mistakes. And good shot there. No real easy double by any means. It'd be a very thin one by the looks of it. So yeah, I think that's probably the easier call. Hit and roll right in front. But a pretty stress-free chance with two corner guards here for Muskatewitz to take a real good shot at a deuce halfway through this end.
And also the tight corner guard is very splittable. So if we see kind of a rollout late, they might take the split on.
Nick, for you, when does even ends, odd ends come into play? Right from the first end, or is it situationally? Does it change?
I think right from the start you think about it, but it's definitely a lower priority early in the game. So I think end 6 is basically the big one. But if you can score in end 2 and 4, it definitely feels a little better, and you know the opposition doesn't like it. They would rather have the hammer in the even ends. So it's in the equation for sure.
Yeah, and I think every team makes kind of that decision for themselves, how important it is and how they want to play it. And it's always interesting because there's so many different. One of the great things about our game, I say it all the time, is there's so many different ways to play, and there's so many different options in all these different situations. And there's not always right and wrong. I think sometimes it's clear there's right and wrong, and people make mistakes, like you said. But there's so many different ways to play the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think for a few years we kind of used that fact that almost all the top teams, they are so interested in scoring multiple with hammer in the even ends. And then when we kind of get to the odd end, they really want to go hard to force, because most teams they play against, they want the blank. So they go defensively and they put the tight up guard or maybe even a double center. So then we kind of like to switch it around and go for three in those ends.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of threes out of teams that just went too hard for the force.
In the fifth and the seventh end?
Fifth and seventh end, we scored a lot of threes, even with the 4-rock rule, actually. So a lot of the top teams, they're just really interested in the fourth and the sixth end, and then in the fifth and seventh, they go super hard for force. We could definitely use it for some time at least.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I've thought the same thing. Not just thought, but noticed. I mean, now that I'm don't really play the game much anymore, other than mixed doubles. Watching the game so much, it's amazing. You know how often you see that. You know, you're down one with the hammer and 7, and the team that's up one wants so badly to force that sometimes they force you to take 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually the best and easiest situation to get 3. But at the same time, it's easier said than done, and a lot of curling has to be played to get that, obviously. But
no matter what you like in terms of strategy, whether you're aggressive, defensive, a blend of both, it's a shot-making contest. If you want to beat any of these teams out here, you better come out not hoping to win, or not hoping that they lose it, but you got to come out and win the game. Here's a good-looking shot here.
Yeah, really good.
That is really nice. Changes the angle, gets it so I don't know if that drags enough. Maybe over curl the hair, but
maybe
it's
there
for Benny.
Yeah, like you said, it's mainly about the shot making. Like you can use a lot of different strategies. It's kind of like chess, that game. Chess has a lot of variations, a lot of different openings, and curling not quite as complicated, but I think you can still play a lot of different ways. Kind of the thing is that you need to have the follow-up. You can make a good move, but you need to follow it up with good shot making and kind of continue to play well that whole end. So just getting good setups and good strategy to start the ends, unless you follow it up, it's not going to generate the points.
So it looks like Ross thinks this does drag and goes, and we hear, you know, curling is chess on ice, and I agree, but that would be like if you take your rook and you're like, I want it to go 6 spaces on the angle over there, and you got to throw it over there, and it has to stick on the square, or else it comes off. So that's the difference.
I actually want to see that.
Right? That could be a good new game.
Yeah. Magnus Carlsen, you heard it here first. You got to try that.
Yeah, he's the best chess player in the world by a wide margin right now, is he not?
Yeah, of all time. Yeah, I think he's pretty much unchallenged in that position.
So he did drag, got rid of it, but a free come around here, and he reminds me a little bit when you see him. Reminds me a little bit of Oscar in how he plays the game. He doesn't always look like he's even paying attention, but man, once he kind of just looks over and it's already over, he's made the shot and he's on to the next one. But how long have the 4 of you guys played together, Nick? A long time, eh?
Yeah, a very long time. I think since 2014.
So 10 years.
Rasmus got in 2016 when Christian had a shoulder surgery. Very tough for a sweeper.
That's not a good thing. That's not a good injury.
No. Tore his bicep tendon, so had to reattach it. And that's a long recovery. Same one I did this summer, actually. So it's a 9-month recovery.
You tore your bicep this time?
Yeah.
Jeez, like you didn't have enough injuries in your life.
Yeah. Just wanted to try something new.
At least it wasn't your back this time. So first skip stone for Team Muskatewitz, and if a good come round is made here, I think probably Ross is going to take on the runner, especially if this is just top 12. Looks like it's going to be buried, so he could draw around that. He's going to draw. Get this buried and not chaseable. I don't think Mark will take on any crazy in-offs or anything off this wide corner guard. He'd probably draw for one, being that it is 4th end and already down one, but time will tell.
And they show that the Europeans, they're not afraid to take on shots if they're there. So if Ross Whyte shows an inch or two of this, or is a little bit deep, I think they will go for the chase, because they're really good at the draw weight from Mark and then manipulating the line with the sweeping, really strong sweepers. So they are really good at those type of shots. But if Ross makes this perfect, then probably no option. You can't really go for the in-off.
Yeah, maybe in the 8th end, but not this early in the game. Still lots to be determined.
Mine's good.
Clean.
Obwohl, wir haben ja schon
Hard
viel
line as well.
Erfahrung.
Good to go. Hard line. Line's good. Just move around.
Recht hat auch gut.
Needs to curve. Really needs to curve.
Robin's saying this one's tracking a bit, and
Wie viel hat er an der Garte
he
vorne?
overswept it a bit early, though the speed looks fine. This is back tee, so no matter where this stops, the chase is probably available. Yeah, you can hear Ewan say, oh, sorry. Just misjudged the weight earlier. They let that curl a bit. That could have been buried on the tee line, so a chance for a deuce.
I like your Scottish accent.
That's pretty close, eh? I mean, my roots are Scottish, but I mean, that's a couple generations ago. It's just really from listening to all these guys over the years, and I thought Scottish people were hard to understand until I heard the guy screeching people in the other night, and I talked to him before he screeched anybody in, though, Nick, and his accent was, you know, Newfoundland and Labrador, but it wasn't tough, and then he put on a full show. Like, he was an actor, and he was good at it.
Yeah, I got screeched in during the Briar here in 17.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's
with Christopher Svaw. That was a good
nice.
experience.
If you're with Christopher Svaw, it's kind of just understood it's going to be a good experience. It might be risky. It might be a little bit painful the next day, but it's going to be fun. So last rock here, though, fourth end. Mark Muskatewitz with a backline chase. Just needs to move this about a foot. Making a bit of a move here.
It's looking good.
Just perfect weight, well swept, well judged, and that's 2 on the board. And ooh, we got some rock kicks. Love to see the emotion out there, and that's a big deuce for Team Muskatewitz. That's 4-3 after 4 ends. We'll take a quick break here and come back for 5th end action.
There's a place where the world's best curling not only lives, it rocks. Download the new Grand Slam of Curling app and live stream all the action. Get exclusive content, stats, merch, and more. Let's rock.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And is the choice of champions.
This is the Cornwall Curling Club. It's my home club. I started curling here when I was 7 years old. I decided to stick with curling because I really enjoyed the small team environment. I curled with the same girls from the time I was 9, basically until the end of juniors. So getting to form those friendships with my teammates was really special to me.
I started curling because of my grandparents, and both my parents curled and my brother, so it was just like a whole family thing. And when you walk into the curling club in Truro, Nova Scotia, and everyone greets you, and it's such a warm environment, and it's fun. After school, we'd go, and all of our friends would be there, so it was just like such a fun environment. And I got to curl with some of my closest friends growing up, so it really helped me keep in the game, and we all had the same goals.
I know what curling has done for our family, the opportunities it provided for both my girls. Nationally, you know, we've got to see travel the world. It's just a great sport. It's a small community. People, you know, at all levels, everybody knows each other. That's what, it's kind of a unique sport that way.
It's a sport that enables him to build his confidence and to make friends while doing something that he really enjoys.
Right now, at the age that they're at, it's just awesome to see when they come here and they see their friends at the curling club and the stuff they do off the ice too, and smiles and hanging out and just enjoying their time with friends.
All right, an exciting first half of the game here. A great atmosphere here at the Mary Brown Center in St. John's, Newfoundland. And Brent Lang joined by Nicholas Sedin here tonight. And some great curling, some great conversations. And we've got ourselves a barn burner at the moment. Team Whyte down one with the hammer. They are 2-0. Not a lot of undefeated teams left on the men's side. And Team Muskatewitz 1-1, not wanting to follow that second loss. And Nick, probably good for you. The more teams that get to 2 losses, I mean, you're planning on ending up at 2-2, so you probably want everybody with you in your pain, right?
Absolutely. We want all the teams at 2-2 right now.
Right?
We got a decent draw, actually. So
well, that's good news.
Fair chance, but we got to beat Whyte in the last, which is a big task. They've won quite a few games lately.
I put my foot in my mouth earlier. I mean, wasn't really my fault, but I called them human because they put up a 3 against Dunstone, and it was a steal of 3.
I saw that.
But it wasn't a steal. They actually took 3, and I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Never mind. No, he's still a machine.
Yeah.
They're all pretty good at curling. So standard start here. I don't think Ross really wants to waste any ends. I think he'd be okay with a blank here, Nick, but throwing up the corner guard, and like you said, I like that, especially in the 5th, because we know Muskatewitz would love to force, so they may take some extra chances to do that, and you might accidentally get a 3.
Yeah, especially when you just put up like one wider corner guard. A lot of the times it might not come into play either. You can still get the blank this way, but now you kind of have some opportunities. If the opposition misses, you at least got some rocks in play.
Yeah, is the corner guard a lot of times kind of just to force the other team to almost throw a center guard, or just, you know, to make sure that you're going to have options, or what do you see?
Yeah, I like to throw it up there just to kind of have it to use so that the opposition needs to be aware of it. If they ever roll out on a takeout or something, you might get a free chance of 2 points. If you come around the center right away, if the opposition makes a mistake, you got really nowhere to go to get your 2 points. Then you're almost only going for like a blank at the end of it, unless they make some big mistakes. But if you got a corner, you can come around it, then it's going to take a good effort to get out of it.
It's always there to run in late too. If you're looking for an extra $1,000 in the shot of the week, that could set you up for that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think if we're down to Whyte tomorrow, that's what we will play for.
Somebody else was joking about that. And okay, but fellas, who's going to fall on their face and get us that $1,000 whiff of the week? Break a broom sweeping or something. But a perfect freeze there by you and Kyle. And I'll see if Felix, and I'm not even going to attempt his last name. My apologies to Felix. I would just butcher. That's good to go. Mezenzel?
Yeah, Mezenzel. And I think you probably have played against his dad, who used to play with Andy Cup as well.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
At second, so yeah, and they are both very blonde. Easy to recognize. So a lot of curling in that family as well. So in this Muskatewitz team, even though they're young and inexperienced, I think they've been around curling their whole lives. They've been around since they could start to walk, and I wouldn't be surprised if they started at the age of 5 or something similar. Followed their dads to the rink and then following their footsteps, and maybe talking a lot of strategy, etc. as well, if they're interested in that type of stuff. So.
Yeah, just being around the game, it's almost through osmosis, right? And that was a good shot there by that was Craig Waddell there. Made the runner, left it buried, and set up for a little bit of a deuce. Both the Reds stayed, so again, looking like somebody's going to score. But last time I said that, it changed very quickly. And Johnny Moe's son Jack, I think, is 7, and he started curling, so it's the same idea, right? It's in the family. And
I think that is such a big advantage as well, as Gucci makes the tap, makes the crowds go wild.
Right? Tap against 4, I think, right to the button after Brad had missed his first, but they're going to the 6th end, tied at 1 right next door. You can catch that action on Sportsnet. Of course, keep us up on your iPad at least, or do the opposite. Put us on the big screen and keep that one up on the Sportsnet. And
yeah, that's better. And like I said, just kind of starting curling that early, the strategy part, I think is huge. If you start early, both technically and tactically, I think you can get a massive advantage that is really hard to take back for someone starting later. If you start at 20 in this sport, it usually shows. in a lot of ways.
Especially the tactical, right? The strategy. There's just no substitute for watching curling, and that just, it takes time. There's no shortcut to the strategy. We see that. Jen and I, our oldest daughter Isabella, has loved curling. Obviously grew up in these rinks and around curling clubs, and she understands the game at a level that probably I didn't really get until I was about 17 or 18, and she's only 12. She can't do it all yet, but it's fun to watch her out there, and she's calling lines, wondering why her teammates aren't carving it when it needs to curl, and it's an interesting thing. But well, here comes the kitchen party. So good hit and roll there. Good, nice pair there by Craig Waddell. 2 big shots to set up a chance at a deuce, but Benny can make a hit and roll behind his own corner guard for shot, just like that. And we've got a curling game on our hands. There's been a ton of shots made by both sides. And as I said to you before the game, I haven't seen this Muskatewitz team play very much, but I knew they were good because you can't, like I said, you can't win the Euros by accident. But this has been impressive. So the run back now for Robin.
The stuff. Very good attempt. It's not a bad thrown rock, but it's just the worst result possible. It happens. Got to shake it off.
It does happen. Even at 100 miles an hour, sometimes it happens. It seems impossible. The good news is that guard is now yellow, and all the guards are yellow. So anywhere that Benny draws this one, I think you're going to see another run back. And if he can do that again on either one, really going to change this end back to a chance for multiple points. Another sweeping question for you, Nick, as somebody who I know you guys leave no stone unturned. You watch, and especially the Swiss teams seem to love the long carve stroke. You know what the theory is there? You guys don't seem to carve much at all.
No. Yeah, we definitely would be the team that carves the least.
Yeah, maybe just draws, it looks like, in watching you.
Yeah, and we kind of, we haven't seen too much actually happen with the carving, to be honest. It kind of depends on the rocks and the ice. If they're sharp and the ice is a little frosty, etc., or softer, you can definitely see it being more efficient or more effective. But in some ice conditions, even for an Amos Mosaner that is massive and strong and perfect technically, you can't really see it move an inch. Like the shot looks made, and then the carve happens, and it's just still made.
Right.
So I think you kind of oftentimes see what you want to see, or a lot of teams do that a little bit more maybe than if you actually look at the facts. It's kind of you have some studies what actually happens, or if you look at social media, that you're going to get 2 different answers. So I think
studies and social media, that's the polar opposites of each other.
So I think in our opinion, and we're not the biggest guys out there. I think if you're really tall and strong, like the Swiss guys, that maybe one of the ones you're talking about is Pablo, very tall and strong and gets a lot of leverage. He's got very long strokes, obviously not in front of the rock a lot of that time. He gets a lot of pressure, but also with a long stroke, a lot of that stroke will be outside the surface where the rock actually runs. So my guess is that they believe the extra high pressure is kind of worth it, that they make fewer scratches but deeper scratches, right, if you will.
So in a big miss there by Benny, cap on his second, was drawn around to lie 2 and slips it through the rings. Robin Bryden makes the run back, but doesn't stick it this time. And a good come around again. Mark Muskatewitz continues to put the rock exactly where he needs to.
Eigentlich finde ich sogar besser, wenn er ein bisschen tiefer ist. Weil dann macht es halt auch den Run schwieriger, dass er die Chance hat, den gelben zu treffen. Ja, das geht schon, aber ich hätte eher gedacht, dass er leicht.
To your point as well, I think it matters a lot when you use the sweeping. If you can get a little bit of effect on a draw, and then maybe for a hack weight, you should be able to get a little bit less, because the rock doesn't actually come to a stop. So the force going forward is much more, and it's harder to affect it. And then some teams kind of carving peels, thinking that would move it a couple of inches, but
That
really,
seems
if you
crazy to me.
Yeah, if you look at it, really, if you can move a peel 2 inches, how much could you move a hack weight, and then how much could you? Yeah, and if you use that for a draw with that kind of effect, that would literally curl a draw off the sheet. So, in theory, that is just not happening. So sweeping peels to curl, in my opinion, is ludicrous.
I would second that. That doesn't make any sense to me. As Ross plays the perfect run back attempt here to lie to. Oh,
what a shot!
Feathered it, but stays mostly buried. And Mark's going to need another perfect draw to not give up 3 here. Good hit and roll, I guess.
A little bit lucky that yellow stayed in the rings, and also better than the red one, and leveled with the other. So that worked out just perfectly. A great shot, but also a little bit of a lucky result, if you will, not to leave a double back. So we got some revenge for the stuffed run back earlier in the end there.
Right. And it's part of the game we saw in your game earlier against John Schuster, trying to play a nose hit in his last one in 7 over curls, and when the dust settles, they're lying 8 feet apart in the 8-foot line too, and it's like, that's better than what he was trying.
Yeah, I was not happy in that moment. I was kind of thinking if he was closer to making what he actually called, it would have been an easy deuce. But
yeah,
it doesn't always work out that well that way.
So going to play the hit and roll here. You know, you could freeze, but you're probably not going to get shot, and you're still going to give up 2 a lot of the time. So probably makes sense here, Nick.
Yeah, I'd say so. And here you can kind of, depending on what weight you're throwing, but you could maybe make the perfect roll, just kind of sneak underneath that. But maybe you need to go too
light, maybe?
Too light, yeah, it might be risky. Looks like they're going a lot of weight. Do they think the double is there, maybe?
Wouldn't think so. That's a long way to go across the house, but
without turn, there's no way that double was there.
Yeah, you needed the in-turn for the extra action, right?
Yeah. Also with these rocks, a really interesting thing that is kind of, it's hard to tell when you're just watching it on the screen, but when you're out there playing, if you kind of see the angle, you're going for like a thick hit, 3/4 or 2/3. A lot of the times with a lot of speed that thick, it will go downwards a lot more than you think. It's because the contact surfaces aren't exactly flat, so you're not getting kind of an instant kind of a force redirection. It's not going 90 degrees right to the side. It's also going downwards
first.
Yeah. So the thicker you hit, sometimes it kind of rolls deeper than if you hit thinner, which seems really weird, but kind of a lot of the doubles when you're trying for 2/3, but if you hit it 3/4, it doesn't even end up frozen on the rock you would have made with 2/3. It ends up underneath.
Well, when I played, Nick, it was you sweep when the rock's light and you sweep to hold it straight, and everything else was just get the weight right. The game's a little more complicated than it used to be, and it's a little heavy from Ross, but I haven't seen him miss the rings on a draw in a long, long time. So that's going to be 2 on the board, and we continue a seesaw battle here. Team Muskatewitz versus Team Whyte. Team Whyte will have a 1-point lead, but Team Muskatewitz with the hammer in the ever-important 6th end when we get back right after this.
There's a place where the world's best curling not only lives, it rocks. Download the new Grand Slam of Curling app and live stream all the action. Get exclusive content, stats, merch, and more. Let's rock.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Goldline's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a Goldline.
It's a Goldline.
It's a Goldline.
And is the choice of champions.
Welcome back to what's been an extremely well-played game at the Coyote National. This is game 3 for both of these teams. Pivotal game. Team Whyte trying to go to 3-0 and punch a ticket almost certainly to the playoffs. And Team Muskatewitz trying to go to 2-1. This is their first slam that they've ever competed in, I believe. And so I hope this is what they're all like from here forward. But I have a feeling that this isn't a normal first slam to come to, Nick. I'm sure your first slam was not quite like this.
Actually, my first slam was in Winnipeg, in
so
the Winnipeg Jets Arena, and I think we had 7,000 people when we played against Jeff Stoughton there. So, yeah, it was similar.
It was just like this.
And then we kind of thought, like, oh, wow, are they all going to be like this? And then haven't really seen a slam like that ever again. So,
right, yeah. Well,
that was in 2006.
At the MTS Center in Winnipeg? Yeah. That was, I mean, that's a curling city. St. John's is, I'd be interested when, if Brad ever retires, when he does, if St. John's continues to be a curling city, or if it's a matter of, I don't want to call them fair weather fans, but, I'm a Blue Jays fan when they win. And if they're not winning, I'm not really paying attention. So I'm interested. I hope, because the culture here is fantastic, the people are outstanding. I hope it's become a curling city because of Brad and the boys.
Yeah, you even have a Team Gushu street, so I mean...
Yeah, it's never going to go away, the history of it, that's for sure. You got any King Nicholas streets in Sweden yet?
Not that I know of.
What does a guy got to do?
Exactly.
Get to 10 World Championships?
No. Actually, in that slam in 06, Brad Gushu were in our group. So we played Brad Gushu in that first slam as well.
Nice.
And Martin and Pierre Chirette and Stoughton. So we had a lot of tough team.
Group.
Yeah. We were a really strong, young and up-and-coming team, and we went 1-4 in that slam. That was a tough blow to the confidence.
That's kind of supposed to be what happens early on. Not always, but it's...
I remember we had kind of a chance to win in all the games, except for Brad. I think they crushed us, but all the other games we had a chance to win, but the competition was just a little bit tougher than in all the other spiels. We would have probably gotten the wins, but in those we had to work all the way in and ended up losing all of those. So, yeah, not even close to playoffs in our first slam, and then back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board. Well, you drew something nice over the last, whatever that is, 16, 18 years since then. So good setup here in the feature game. Again, almost just assume that all the first 4 shots are made because they continually seem to be. That one's a little short, but still in a reasonable spot. Probably Muskatewitz going to double off those top 2 yellows again, roll to the corners, and have a great setup again for a deuce. And so 2006, that would have been right after if Brad won the Olympics or right before. Russ would have been on the team potentially, or did they cut him already? They cut him already?
I think it was, I'm not sure. I think it was like after, so it was 2006 in the fall.
Yeah, so yeah, that would make some sense.
Because we played the World Championships before that, so in 06 in April. We played both the World Juniors and the World Men's the same year.
That's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of teams get to do that.
No, that was pretty fun, actually. And then got invited to the Slam. I don't think we were high enough on the rankings, but they just kind of thought it was interesting to invite
that's a good story.
Good young team. And back then, it wasn't really that common. Now we see a lot of young teams do really well, but back then, like most of the top teams, they were 25 or older, and we were kind of we were around the 20-year mark. So that was a cool experience, cool year.
So a mistake there. And Team Muskatewitz allows Team Whyte to peel the corner guard, and yeah, I like this call. I think you got to take a chance at a deuce here still. So 2006 World Championships, you would have played against Jean-Michel Menard.
Yep, exactly. And David Murdoch winning that.
Oh, he beat,
that was his first world title, yeah.
Hard, Jungs. Hard. Hard auf Linie.
Needs this one back 4 at least. I guess as long as it's buried, it's getting pretty tight, so this might get buried on the tee line.
Okay.
Not perfect, but see how Ross decides to deal with this. Probably knows the top and plan on making another double.
At least it got just far enough so the double isn't on.
Double's not there, is it?
Yeah, I don't think the double is there. Not quite,
He's
eh?
just going to confirm that for me.
Yeah.
10, 5, 11.
I don't think he's really bothered about catching the replacement for that double knee.
10, 5, 11.
We're trying to kill this.
Yeah, that seems risky.
That's why I'm thinking like 10, 5, so if it glances this, it should still go. From what way if you want? 10? 10?
I don't think that's good too.
Yeah, I don't see a huge advantage of trying to keep both of these, really.
That's another thing with these rocks. When you hit kind of a thin half kind of hit with 10 seconds, they don't go very far.
Especially if it ticks this yellow one a little thicker than they want. But sounds perfect. Just like they ordered.
Yeah, very good. And same shot could have been made with less weight as well, but it's just kind of bringing that miss into play a little bit more. Over curling a couple of inches, then it sticks in the rings.
Nase und dann freeze. Oh, wir brauchen nicht so aggressiv spielen. Genau, Nase.
Just nose.
8.
Ben is suggesting freeze, but the freeze isn't really there without the double being a little too likely.
So a bit of cat and mouse. I mean, probably playing this double thinking we got to kind of keep the blank alive just in case. Do you think, Nick, that, you know, nobody draws for 1 and 6 to get 1 and 6, but how much risk is worth it for 2? And as long as you can get your 1 here. And oh, that was definitely not what they were playing. They're playing the double on the other one, weren't they?
No, I think they were playing that double, but kind of
over curl.
Yeah, they tried to hit it a millimeter high side.
Not the top one.
That was tricky.
Yeah, and even because if they roll anything to the inside that would have covered the other yellow, then yeah, it would have been. It was a fairly precise hit they needed to make.
A chance to hit in lie 3, but their first thought was to hit 4th shot, and I don't know, it's getting kind of late for that. What do you think, Nick?
If we play that and he bumps the pocket, it's not great.
Yeah, it looks like a timeout. Good situation here to have a conversation. Both teams have lots of time, and that's another thing. What do you start with, Nick? 32 minutes or 33?
Yeah, or 33, I think.
And is that? Do you think that's a good amount of time? Is that too much? Not enough?
For us, never enough. But yeah, I think I think it's a good amount. Actually, it's not too tight for time. I think that the thing nowadays with the 5-rock rule and really tough teams and a lot of offensive ends, like you need a lot of decisions to be made during a game. So you're gonna run low no matter how fast you play. If you want to play this game at a high level now, you have to be precise. You have to take a few seconds here and there.
Yeah, and I don't think the point of the clocks is to rush teams. We want, as a fan, I want the teams to have time to talk. I think that's one of the best parts of the game.
So if he makes the tap here,
But
and then leaves it, kind of ball it back.
at the same time, we want, for TV and everything else, there's certain time constraints. So I think it's a good mix. I think if anything, I don't think we need more time. I think we could take off more, but I don't think it's necessarily.
I think with the 4-rock rule, I think we had a lot of time to waste. With the 5-rock rule, I think you almost never see teams having more than like 3-4 minutes left after the whole game is played. I'm sure they might use a little bit extra if they have 10 minutes with 2 ends to go. They might use a little extra, but you never see a lot of teams with lots of time left on the clocks.
Almost quarter. A third's not far away.
So they've switched, I think, to the double here.
It seems like it. It's definitely a little bit of risk to it. The jam is in play if you hit it way too thick. I'm with you. I would maybe look at just hitting in line 3.
Roll kind of half under that red one. There wouldn't be any real easy doubles, and there's no real kind of nose stick for shot. And
also the top red is kind of available, so if you play for that roll and the other team makes a double, the reds are going to be fairly close together. So maybe not necessary to play this double, but if it makes it, obviously that's the best result.
And there'll be a freeze for Muskatewitz on the side one for shot that won't be able to be taken out if it's made perfect, but curl to touch it, that doesn't sound great. So error there, and I think the shot's probably still to freeze on the inside corner of the wide one.
Yeah, totally agree. That's kind of the point. If you can make this freeze really, really good, that's kind of when you can get your 2 points. If that freeze isn't made as well, then the double will be on, most likely. And maybe the force is even on. So this is a big shot.
Yeah, if this is made like right on kind of a third of it or something like that, it's almost like Team Whyte's going to have to say, here's your deuce. You guys want to play the rest, or do you just want to go to the next end? Because there'll be really nothing they can do with that stone.
Might actually have to play then kind of like the double
into it
to just unlock the backing.
So yeah, big draw here for Benny. You had a little trouble last end through a draw, similar path that slid out the back door, so needs to dial in the speed here and give Felix and Johannes a chance to place this one perfectly. That's pretty good. Not totally perfect, but pretty good.
At least it was a very nice throw, a really good attempt. The line was perfect, and speed is just 2 inches too heavy. Still got to make a good shot, though. If you hit this anything on the inside, it's probably always going towards the other yellow.
I don't think he can ever make that red double, can he? I guess tick, tick, but it's like millimeter thin.
Yeah,
I still think it hits the yellow.
Yeah, I think in theory maybe it's there, but it's so tough you can't go for it because the flash is more likely than making that double.
We see Uli Cap is on the bench. When yesterday he wasn't, so maybe came into town late. Could have had meetings. I know he's involved in a lot of different things. It's Benny's dad, longtime third for his brother Andy. They must have played in a dozen World Championships. That's a complete guess, but that would be about my guess for those guys.
Something like that, and I think Marcus Messensail was in most of those.
Okay. The final in 07, we played them, and it was, I want to say Andreas Lang was playing second, and I can't remember. It might have been, or maybe he was playing lead. My memory's failing me as I get older, Nick.
Me too, and I think they also switched lineups a few times. They had a couple of really strong teams in both Andy Kapp's team, but also Sebastian Stock had a really good team, and I think they switched a few players over the years, and that was almost before my time, but...
Ooh, what a shot there. Spins up, corner frozen.
Wow, so they played that shot that we talked about. They kind of had to unlock that backing. They could have just ripped it, but the same freeze would have been played again.
That is awfully good. Can he get all of those going now? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
This is all of a sudden looking like forced. I think you kind of got to give it a shot, hit it high, and hope it somehow ticks that other yellow and goes. Or you make a good freeze and maybe Ross blasts it out, they're thinking, and then you got the double for the blank.
I think it's actually so frozen on the red. I don't really think the angle is there, actually. I don't think it can hit the back yellow, but maybe we can see an overhead again. See what the angle was like exactly, but it looks to me that if it's always going to touch the red and go over the back yellow. So I think they've elected to just freeze. And if he makes it good enough, though, maybe this is risky to go for the nose. Then maybe they elect to blast, and then you can blast back for the blank.
Blast. Double bombs. So first skip Stone in the 6th end, trailing by 1. Mark Muskatewitz with an intern freeze. Back 8 foot. I think to kind of try and set up a blank. I guess Ross could decide to nose it, but I think Ross is okay with the blank here too. So I think he'll just blast this out of there wherever it ends up. Missed the sweep a bit. They did.
I don't see how he scores 2.
No, he definitely isn't scoring 2 as if this red goes away.
Try and leave that one if we can, just in case. Yep. Okay. Well, that's our force.
So pretty straightforward pick here for Ross Whyte on his last. A bit of a sweeping mistake on a pretty well thrown rock by Mark, and pick this one out, and he'll have the exact same draw to tie this game up. And I guess give semi-control, hammer in 7. I don't know that that's control, but you'd rather have hammer tied in 7 than not, obviously. So last Team Whyte Stone of the 6th.
Clean. Yep. Yes. You gotta go.
Player side. Sweep in.
So forced to just scoring 1 point here.
That was all set up by Ross's first shot there. Really looked like it could have been a deuce, and well, that's not Uli back there. My vision's failing me too. It's another good-looking man from Europe. I don't know who that is. Who's Ross's coach? Can't see that far. We're in a big stadium now. So anyway, last rock, 6th end. Mark Muskatewitz, same intern draw he just threw. Needs a piece of the forefoot, though, to get the point to tie this game up. Nobody looks too concerned here. Should be on the backing as well, so we've got a tie game, folks. Come back for more action right after this quick break. We'll bring you the 7th end action, tied at 5.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
it's a gold line.
it's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Welcome back to the 7th end of a tie game. Two teams still alive for the playoffs, needing a big win here to punch the ticket for Team Whyte. And if you're Team Muskatewitz, you just don't want to drop to that second loss. So tied Team Whyte with the hammer. I would think you're going to see double centers here, Nick, out of Team Muskatewitz, trying to force a score here. A steal would be fine with them, and a force to 1 would be fine. And on the flip side, tied, Team Whyte's probably going to go around and take the soft deuce if they can get it. Don't want to give up a steal. See most teams tied here go around, Nick, or does anybody throw a corner guard in this situation?
I don't think anyone throws a corner guard, but I think kind of the theory of going around is slightly different between teams. Some kind of like it two frozen on top of each other, and other teams like it kind of the first on the top of the button and then the next top 8. You put them too close to the T line frozen, it's kind of easy to make that first tap.
Right.
Especially if it's curling
button.
Yeah. At the same time, if they're a little too high, especially if you get a bit of a stagger, then you can come around everything back button. So it's not ideal either. So placement of the first 2, crucial. First one was a little bit too deep. I think they're actually going for the freeze here.
Okay. Usually you see, especially with that one on the T line, I like the high guard here.
Me too. You said there are many different ways to play this game. And in this case, I just think there is a right and a wrong. I think that one was just slightly off the mark.
I think double centers makes a lot of sense to make sure somebody scores. A blank here is pretty bad.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, the first one, the placement of the yellow being on the tee or even slightly behind the tee line, that makes the whole difference. Because then if you get a double center, there's no real good spot to put it because the freeze is on. So you have to be in the forefoot to cover the freeze, but then it's deep enough for the tap to be very makeable. I think a double center was, for me at least, definitely the play there.
Did he just call a center guard now?
Interesting. So he just didn't want the first 2 kind of frozen to each other, and I think that's a great idea. I think some teams have started doing that just to not have 2 frozen against you, but I think the first one being too deep,
yeah, that changes everything for me.
Yeah,
because now Ross, I think he could just say, screw it, this is a pretty good situation. We might just freeze another one on there, but we will see.
And in my opinion, if they freeze another one on there, then the 2 yellows are in a much better position. That's kind of where you want the first 2 anyways. But then now you have a red one as backing.
Agreed. And we've got what looks to be our first final. Team Hostley taking down Team Carruthers 8-3. And I believe that is Reed's 3rd loss. And that'll have him playing for some pride and a couple of bucks tomorrow in his final round robin game. So this is also a very tough double. Craig Waddell taking on the... Makes the double, leaves the guard, but it is yellow, and got an interesting situation here in the feature game, the feature matchup. Team Gushu is drawn to lie 3, trailing by 2 and 7. So that was the buzz he heard in the crowd. A couple of errors this end by Team McEwen. So Felix trying to throw that tight guard back up there. The crowd is back. Team McEwen had them eliminated for a long time here, but they're back. So good speed, but that's over curled by a large margin, and this is trouble for Team Muskatewitz. You can throw like a back line and line up your yellows, move the back yellow, 3 yellows on 1 in the rings, and only a high center, really. So
13 for back line.
13 seconds between the hog lines is back line weight. This one's all about the line. You can tap it anywhere from 2 feet to 8 feet, as long as you get it on that 3/4, even 7/8. Sounds made, Nick.
Yeah, it looks really close. They're happy with it. Moving that yellow.
Oh, why aren't we sweeping that, Mark?
Yeah.
Oh, Mark. Oh, maybe he just knew.
Maybe he didn't have to. Just young eyes. He saw that was going up.
I think Ewan said it's in, and that's a big mental mistake there.
Yeah, there's a massive difference between 2 and 3. Oh. If they give up 2 points, you kind of see it every now and again. Teams turning it around and scoring 3 points. And they're 2 down.
So I'm not even sure is this just a guard or a freeze on freeze for 4th shot? It's a bad situation, I know that.
They're doing the same thing, a small little tap, just unlock them a little bit, change the angles. Not bad, that was actually a really, really good effort. Pretty much as good as they could do, probably.
Can they chase that shooter? Is the guard high enough? If they can hit and roll on the shooter to this wide side, this starts getting like really expensive.
Yeah, they would have wanted to roll over just a couple of inches more, so it wasn't quite as available. I think the hack weight to roll is definitely there.
Get ready for some Newfoundland and Labrador cheers here as Team Gushue is drawing the rings for 2 to tie up their game into the 8th end. So Robin thinks he can throw 10. You don't want to move, yeah, as Ross says, you don't want to move that yellow. Those yellows are so perfectly set up.
Just leaving this as many times as we can to leave me just this for 2.
So Robin's really blocking our view right now. It's in the wrong spot for us. There we go.
It looks to me like a hack weight on that top red.
Could that ever be good, right? Roll right to the side, right to the T-line, side 12, and
that's what they like as well. I think the question is that you might have to hit it too thin not to disrupt that yellow lining up on the red. So you might lose your shooter, and the red one you hit might stick behind the corner guard.
Is it awful if I throw it and I take the guard?
Or at least in the rings.
It's not bad. It's not great though. They kind of do that and roll a couple under. I think if you're missing, you're probably onto this and just putting this right in there, and they've got to play that. If they ever spill them, it's not too bad. That's almost not far away from the call.
Yeah, I wonder that too, actually, as he says that. If they're not sure they can hit and stay on the red, maybe just hit and stay on the yellow.
Yeah, but
Leave those in a really good spot.
I like picking it then. If we ever touch this, it's okay? Yep.
The original thought was it's okay if we wreck the guard, but now they're saying, no, let's try and make this, but it's okay if we hit the yellow. Sometimes you say that and you kind of get neither. You get the dead in between.
Yeah, and I think there might be a hit here that isn't great. If they kind of tick the red and then they tick the yellow going by, and but not enough speed to remove anything. They're just kind of rearranging, and the red gets pushed back 4. Might not be ideal. There might be kind of a tap for Muskatewitz, but we'll see what happens.
Playing this plenty hard, not worried about the shooter at all. And what did move it a shade, but that's still pretty good for Team Whyte. Do you ever give up on your red one and just kind of nose bump these around and say, we need this to look different?
Yeah, I would maybe not kind of give up on the red, but maybe push it into a spot where it's kind of lost in the back 4. So the yellow isn't automatically just stuffing there. So kind of tap weight on the inside again. Just kind of move them around a little bit and keep your own rock back 4.
The setup right now looks like a 2 is the best case for Team Muskatewitz to hope for. So.
Ja, der war jetzt 0 aktiv, also gleicher ground speed.
I would want to get kind of slightly on the inside so that your shooter is kind of lost, almost bite forward. Then there's not a lot of room to score the 3 points. And then move the top yellow out for an in-off possibility.
Yeah, that I think is the key. The shooter stays in a good spot, and that yellow goes to the side 4 where you've got some hit and rolls or in-offs, as you said, Nick. I completely agree, and I think that's kind of what they're playing, but I'm not sure this is quite hard enough. It's close. Oh, that's pretty good. That red one's now safe for a second.
Yeah, so they did kind of the first thought that they went for no, so that was exactly what they called, and it was kind of just to push that red one back 4 so that would be lost. And the yellow is now not as accessible.
You might just be able to do that.
Okay. Good. What do I need?
I'm just concerned it doesn't touch this and then the head roll under.
Yeah, no, if you're not sure it touches that, you can't play this. That's a big shot there. A total turnaround of this end. It looked like they were dead. And
Can't throw the same way and try and just roll wide and counter it.
they're gonna have a look at it. They do have quite a bit of time. I think they've used one timeout, but 6 minutes. What do you try and make sure you have for the last end, Nick? A timeout and how much?
If you have a timeout, I think 2.5 minutes is enough. If you have 2 timeouts, I think 2 minutes is enough. But if you get lower than that, it might get dicey. You might actually have to make a couple of important decisions or look at angles or something like that. So 1 minute can go away in a hurry. I would definitely like to have a couple of minutes plus a timeouts.
It is American Thanksgiving, so the hurry-up offense in football is a thing in curling sometimes. And as you said, I mean, there's teams that, you know, you say you guys use up all the time. Team Kui always used up all the time. Team McEwen over the years uses up all the time. And, you know, then there's the opposite. I mean, I think the best example is Team Adaw when they used to play, even in the Skins games, like they'd be ending with 10 and 12 minutes left. And that's just who Wayne Adaw is. And just he didn't think by thinking any longer that he just trusted his gut and went for it. He also wanted to find out as quickly as possible who's going to win.
It was also 4-rock rule.
Yeah,
makes a big difference.
3-rock even sometimes.
Because I feel a lot of the teams now that are quick teams, they make good decisions. They have a lot of time on the clock, like after 5 ends. They kind of still end up having 3-4 minutes left after the full game is played. So I think even if you're a fast team, a fast thinker, make quick decisions. I think with the 5-rock rule, if the opposition is making everything, you're gonna have to use a lot of time and make good decisions.
It doesn't really matter, especially in the finals. You know, you get down to the best teams. It doesn't really matter if you're up 2, 3, even 4 sometimes. There's gonna be an end, in my experience, where it's like, oh, we're in some trouble here, and this is, if we don't pay attention and take some extra time and make some good decisions and good shots, this is the one where we're going to look back and say that's where we gave it away. So you're right. You're always going to have that challenge.
And that's why I think time management overall has just become a way bigger factor with the 5-rock rule. Now you have to manage your time well, and the front end generally needs to be very fast. You need to save every second you can. You can't afford to have a long routine to play those first shots. You need to play fast and bank some time when you can.
Okay, so he was right. It kind of ticked all of them, but I think leaves yellow right now lying 2, and that double's going to jam a lot of the time.
I think you could play it the other way, though. You would just have to throw it really hard, but they're so close together. And what he's looking at now, I think it's definitely there. It's just really tough. You got to play a lot of speed, and you need the out turn.
We want to know real badly if that back one is in now, don't we? This is starting to be very important for a force or for a deuce. But a good shot there by Robin, but a chance. Mark to throw the heat here and hit, I think even a half rock makes this double, but it might hit your other red one at that point. But then maybe it comes over and gets the other back when it spins out. So he's not playing it though. Does he not have enough room by the guard?
I think he does. I think maybe he's, or maybe no, the high center is in the way. Maybe. Sorry, I didn't even. We don't have that on our screen. Hopefully you didn't either.
Touch. If the center wasn't there, the double's definitely there.
Yeah.
But a chance for a perfect hit and roll right to the button also. So first skip stone for Mark Muskatewitz, and trying to play a soft hit and roll right to the button, frozen on shot rock. And this one's curling. Maybe this accidental slip double. That's just gonna, oof. Ew. Flashed it. Interesting though, because left a nice double to stay buried at back button almost, and also a good come round. So Ross is gonna have to make a really good draw here. Try and take away the freeze and the double, which I don't know if it's possible, Nick.
No, I don't think so. I think
maybe
to block the freeze, I think you will always leave kind of the roll to a freeze.
So what's the options here? Do you just go right to the top of the button and say, if you make the double, I'm going to just draw the side of the button for 2?
I think maybe you try and block off as much as you can, and kind of if you leave the freeze, at least it's going to be really tight, kind of come and just curl past a top 8-foot rock. I think that the easier shot to make is probably the double. It's very automatic half rock, and rolling towards it, it's kind of the same spot you just threw as well.
Team Whyte is now tight on time. Excuse me, they're just under 3 minutes at 2:59. So, and if Mark makes his last one here, they're going to have something to talk about likely on Ross's last. So, right to the broom here. If he makes the double, you want to put this in a spot where if he makes the double, obviously you want the runner there, but the shooter has to be second shot, so it has to be half in the 4-foot. I think that's kind of right where they wanted it.
That's pretty much perfect. It's still possible to roll to a freeze, but we really couldn't take away everything there. That was kind of the best they could do, I think. Any farther to the right, as we look at it, the freeze would have been available.
That's pretty perfect. And again, not as easy as they're making it look. To draw to basically almost to the inch.
Could they freeze with the in-turn? It's a tough shot, but it's probably easier than rolling to a perfect freeze.
Intern's probably there. You get anywhere near that red guard, it's probably, and you get across the face, and it won't be removable.
I know we've definitely played a few draws this week that is like the red guard. If you want to freeze to just inside nose, I think the red guard isn't in the way. You got to come really close to it though. But drawing there, it's probably easier than rolling there. But just making the double could also be a good opportunity to at least just hold him to 2 at the most.
And the choice here is the dead hit and roll is better, but it's way harder. The double keeps you in the game in 8, so I'm not sure what they've chosen here. They've got kind of center of the rock, so
I guess they could be playing an either or, but if they choose a weight to make the double, the roll is very unlikely. You've got to be really lucky to stay on a good angle with the roll, that type of weight.
Yeah, peel weight, you can go right across the top here. Not throwing full peel, so probably pick that weight that maybe both are available. Big shot here. Team Muskatewitz needs this one. This one sounds super thin.
Whoa, that ticked the top one, I think.
Did it?
I think so. And might still be a shot for 3, but now they got to run double to get their 3.
So that's what we were talking about there. Like, if you're going to play the double, make the double. Like, play the weight that you're going to make the double. And it might be for 4. Who knows if this back one is in.
You're not catching with too much of these. 8.5's probably good.
This is a shot. It looks very, very precise, but they're also kind of close together, and it's a nose hit close to the center line. And Ross is one of the best at these. He wouldn't miss them by more than an inch too often.
Just got all the shots, eh? Like, he's super impressive to watch. I love his demeanor. Doesn't get too high or too low, but final rock, 7th end, chance for Team Whyte to blow this game open potentially. Doesn't sound good for Team Muskatewitz here. Boom, like that. 3 and a measure, I'm going to say. Oh, they kicked it off already. Why did they do that? That must have been in the rings because they kicked it off.
Probably game over.
Yeah, we're looking at handshakes. That's it, and what a shot by Ross Whyte to bring home the W. Big win, 9-5. Team Whyte goes to 3-0, punches their ticket to the playoffs. And Team Muskatewitz, impressive showing, well played, but take the loss in this one with a fall of 1-2. So flip on over to the other stream and listen to Isabella Rana and John Cullen bring home the all-Swiss battle between Brunner and Schwaller. That is 5-4 Schwaller coming home. We've had 3 awesome games out here on the ice tonight. Thanks for joining us, Nick. I actually learned a ton tonight. Felt more like an interview from me to you. I had too many questions, but thanks for joining us and thanks for tuning in, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Clean. Keep going, ET. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
-1,000 flash will win apparet curl.
Oh, they're really sweeping